Hello everybody and welcome to another Twilight Zone review. Today it is Season 5, Episode 35, The Fear, written by Rod Serling and starring Peter Mark Richmond as Trooper Robert Franklin and Hazel Court as Charlotte Scott. And this is an average Twilight Zone episode. I would say everything about it is okay. It's kind of just there. Nothing great, nothing terrible about it in my opinion. So we start with one of our main characters, Robert, and he is a trooper, and he goes to see a woman named Charlotte, our other main character, and they talk for a little bit, and he's basically there questioning her on some lights that she says she saw in the sky when she was in town. And we also find out that Charlotte is new to the area, and we get some backstory on her, and we find out that she had a nervous breakdown, and that's the reason that she moved. So we're not sure about her credibility at this point. And she basically asks Robert to move along because she says she likes her privacy. And he's getting ready to leave after he kind of tells her off a little bit in his own way, which was pretty good. But then they are interrupted when they both see a light in the sky, basically, and they hear a noise. So she's really frightened at this point, and he decides he's going to stay for a little while. And Robert even mentions, he says, maybe it's a UFO. So this guy's pretty forward thinking about this kind of thing, and that's our opening setup, and it's a pretty long one, but it's okay. I didn't really think it dragged too much. So we go to the next scene, and Robert investigates outside, and there's not much there. He's not really seeing anything unusual, but then his car starts moving by itself, basically, which is pretty strange. And Charlotte comes outside, and she says, didn't you have the emergency brake on? And he says, yes, I did, and my theory is that maybe the brake just went out. It doesn't work anymore, because what other explanation would there be? And we also find out that the radio is not working in the car at this time, so that's probably not good. But Charlotte says she has a phone inside, so they go back inside, and they have an interesting conversation where Robert tells her that fear is normal, people have it, but it's how you react to it that's important. I thought that was one of the better things about the episode, and it will be important to the end. And we also find out at this point that the phone's not working, of course. So we know something's going on, but we're not really sure what. So we go to the next scene, and there's more noises, and this time it seems like they're coming from the roof. So once again, Robert goes out to investigate for a second time. Of course, he finds nothing on the roof. There's nothing there. But when he goes back out, he looks at his car again, and the car is now right side up from what had happened earlier when it had kind of crashed itself. And there's these giant fingerprints on the car. So he tells Charlotte what's going on, basically, and he says whatever it is must have carried the car and made it upright. And he said it seems kind of strange, but this thing must be like 500 feet tall. So we go to the second half of the episode, and it's the next day, and it seems like it was a pretty uneventful night overall. They didn't see or hear anything. So they both go outside and start walking around, I guess, just to see what's going on. And all of a sudden they see this giant footprint, and it is pretty huge, and I thought it looked pretty cool. It worked well enough. So at this point they talk for a few seconds, and Charlotte's still very freaked out. She's scared, and she starts to run away. And as she's running for a little bit, eventually she falls. And when she looks up, she sees this giant creature, or it looks like some kind of giant creature anyway. And Robert comes, and he sees it, and he's finding a hard time believing this, but he says, leave, maybe you can go to town and get some help. But all of a sudden, Charlotte has some newfound courage, which I kind of liked. It seemed to happen naturally. It didn't seem forced, so that was well done. And Charlotte decides she's going to stay with him no matter what. So basically what happens now is that Robert shoots the creature, and it starts deflating. So I think we can now figure out what's going on. And when the creature falls, it lands on both of them. But we find out they're not hurt because it was only a balloon the whole time. But then in a twist to the episode, we find out that there were these spacemen behind it. Robert finds a spaceship, and the aliens did all these things, and their test was to see if people would be afraid or not. And when the people were not afraid, they decided that they needed to leave because they were in fear that something might happen to them. So an okay twist, not really great, not really terrible, kind of just is what it is. It was fine. It was good enough, I guess. And also at this point, Charlotte seems like she's overcome her fear. So that's a nice ending for her and for the episode. Overall, I just feel like this is an average but watchable episode, and I give The Fear a 2.5 out of 5. Just an episode you can watch if you want. It's not great, it's not terrible. So 2.5 out of 5 for The Fear, and as always, thank you very much for watching.